I have a history with lucid dreams or lucid dreaming. When I was a kid, I used to have a dream about the next day, and it would play out exactly the same way. It was always I don't know if it was partly because, like, for the most part my days in school were pretty similar to each other, but there were differences, and those differences would show up in my dream, and I would have deja vu every day. And I thought everybody had this same sort of experience. And so, like, I didn't know what, at the time I didn't know what lucid dreaming was. I just thought everyone had control inside of their dreams. Like me, I understood, and I learned tools. I started to map out, like, the dream worlds that I would visit. I started to get, and then even in later on in life, I started to learn dream interpretation, about, like, dream interpretation Bibles and books. And I started to I started to learn, what it means to dream. I started to understand, what I had. And even to this day, it still drives a lot of my decision making. Like, my risk, like, when I'm, like, looking at something to risk, I'll ask myself, like, before I go to bed, I'll ask myself, can you tell me, the answer to this? And I'll focus on that right as I'm falling asleep, of that question. And then, it'll show up in some sort of way. And then I'll, these days I put into AI, I say, like, can you interpret this dream for me? Here's what happened. And it does a good job. But there's a person that I go to who's specifically a dream interpreter, and he's blown me away every time. Like, he brings up, like, certain points, and I don't tell him anything about my life. I just tell him, like, here's what happened in my dream. Can you tell me what it could possibly mean? And then he'll go through and he'll just tell me. I don't give him any other clues aside from what happened in the dream. Sometimes it's really abstract too. And he'll tell me what certain things are, like dogs. For instance, they mean trust and loyalty. Dogs are mostly about loyalty, but there's trust in there and all that. But, dogs represent loyalty. So I remember before I got my current dog, he showed up in my dream, because I was actually going to get a different dog. So I thought, oh, it's like this, there's a little white dog in my dream. I was like, maybe it's just because I'm going to get a dog. But the dog that I was looking at wasn't, he was like a blue, like, grayish color, and he had white paws. And I thought he was so cool looking, and his eyes were blue. And when I got to to pick up my dog, I saw this little white dog come out from the back, and I got the chills like no other. And I asked him, like, what about that dog? Like, are you guys housing that dog? And they said no, because he's gonna be larger than the breed's supposed to be. And I just didn't. One, I still don't understand how they know that, but they said we've been breeding for years, and we know he's not gonna be the right size. He's gonna be big for his breed. Oh, that's cool, bird. And then I just asked him, like, like, what would you guys, I was like, what if I, can I take him instead? And they were like, absolutely, you can. But they're like, we'll give you a discount, actually, because, he's kind of, we were just going to keep him. And, and so I got this dog, and he literally came from my dream. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I remember in the car, like, I didn't even name him, to be honest. Like, his name just popped into my mind. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not, like, I have no control over this situation. But it was a little difficult to get him, because when I went to the bank, they had like a hold on my account for some reason, and I had to, like, reach out to them, and then then they told me that I would need to use a different ATM or something, because the ATM didn't have the amount of cash that I needed. And so then I went to this other grocery store to get to debit out some money. And that store, there was a person in front of me using pennies. I was like, oh my god, they're counting pennies literally. And I didn't know how long those those people were gonna wait, because I'm sure they had to do stuff too, the breeders. But anyway, and then there was an accident right in front of me. Whoa, this area looks crazy. But anyway, there was just so many things that happened, and I was like, wow, this is so much work for a dog, to get to get this dog. And so they gave me a discount, and I was able to to get him. And bringing him home, I still had the chills. I was like, man, this dog, literally, I dreamed about you just like last night, and now you're here, you exist, you came out from the dream, and you're in the real world. And so many things like that happen, especially when there's like moments in my life where I don't feel completely in touch with like my intuition, or I'm just doubting myself, stuff like that. My dreams sort of shake me out of that. And the other thing is about the lucid part is that I know when I realize that I'm in a dream, when I awaken inside my dream, and I'm like, oh, this is just a dream. Because sometimes it's so vivid that I can't even tell the difference between reality and the dream. And like when that happens, it's almost like all the characters in my dream, all the people, they all sort of look at me like angry that I'm not playing a part of their, I'm not playing my part unconsciously. I've awakened in my dream and I'm conscious now. And then I have the ability to do anything I want. Like I can fly around if I want to. I can manifest any sort of vehicle or anything that I want. And I think sometimes like I mean, it's almost like when Neo, I don't know if you guys have seen The Matrix. I think it's the third one where he's like, he escapes the Matrix, or he's outside of the Matrix, and they're getting chased by the Sentinels, and he's outside, like he's not in the Matrix, right? He's like, they're getting chased, but his ship blows up or whatever, and he turns around and he does the same thing that he usually does in the Matrix, like he puts his hand up, and this Sentinel stops and completely like just implodes. And in some ways, I think that's happening to me slowly. It's like I'm starting to have those abilities that I have in my dream, not necessarily flying around and all that, but like the ability to manifest stuff that I want for myself by just imagining. And already it's almost like the fake it if you make it sort of thing, but in the dream world happens much faster than like in reality. I think in reality, when you want to manifest something, you kind of have to, it can manifest pretty fast, but it doesn't feel as instant as my lucid dreams do. And that's especially if I manifest something in my dream, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just a dream. Now I can like experiment. I can, let's try something new. I've learned that like if I imagine like Google Maps, like what it looks like with Google Maps, if I imagine that, it throws me in the air. Or I don't get thrown in the air, I just appear in the air and I start to fall. And as I'm falling, I can catch myself, I can do whatever, I can fly however I want. I can, if for instance, there was one time where I was getting chased by this like mafia group, and they all had suits on, and they were all rushing me, and I was running through this building, through like a business building, and I noticed that I was dreaming, so I turned around and I just looked right at the mafia boss people, the mafia or whatever, and I just like or whatever they were agents, maybe they could have been agents, I don't know what they exactly were, but it was like a group of these guys in like suits or whatever. Yeah, they're probably agents in my dream. And I'm like, I turned around and I just stopped. And I'm just like, they all noticed it and they were all pissed at me because, you know, like I said, when I realized that I'm in a dream, all the characters in my dream get mad at me because I'm no longer playing along unconsciously. Instead, I'm actually, you know, manipulating the dream, I guess. So I instead of them chasing me, I just like had them become workers inside of that like company, and they just sort of started going to work like they were already at their job. And I just like I changed the way that I looked. I changed the way that my clothes looked. Like I was no longer, you know, this person running from anything. I was just sort of walking around, and everybody in there was just every time I walked like towards somebody, they would just stop there and stare at me like they were so mad. And then, you know, I would just keep walking, and then I just inform them, or you know, it's not like I inform them. I just give them permission to continue working, and they do it. But like I always like I haven't interpreted that dream actually, but I should actually do that one. That one happened a while ago, but that's just an example of like when I catch myself lucid in the middle of a lucid dream, and then I sort of do things or whatever. A lot of times I really enjoy like whenever I realize it's a lucid dream, I enjoy like going to places that I've never been. So like one time I went to like a volcano in like South America. And when I do this, like I don't have to like fly there. I don't have to like, you know, it's not like it's just instant. I just instantly am inside of a volcano. I can feel the heat. I can feel like the volcano like around. I can even jump in if I wanted to. Um but it's just it you know, it's just unique. So I've been to the moon, I've been to like different parts of the US. I've like just and you know what's crazy is like I have these dreams of these places. Like there's one place that I remember really vividly. It's a restaurant that's inside of a cave, and the cave and it's like there's these tall panes of glass that sort of go off the cliff edge and then, you know, go all the way to the floor. And it looks like and there's like infinity pools and stuff in there, and I saw that actual place. Like I've never seen that picture of that place, but I saw it on TikTok, like the actual place that was in my dream that I've never even seen or experienced before. I saw it and I freaked and I it sort of freaked me out because I was like, I've never seen this place, but it showed up in my dream and it's a real place. Maybe somewhere I maybe saw a glimpse of it, because you know your subconscious will capture things that you don't even realize. Like you might be looking through a magazine, or you might be scrolling through TikToks or whatever, and from, you know, an ad somewhere or this or somewhere like you didn't really like look at, but it sort of was in the foreground or background or whatever. Like you sort of see it kind of. It gets stored in your subconscious, and you have access to your subconscious when you're lucid dreaming. You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. So I was always thinking like, how many things in my subconscious that actually the next time I have a lucid dream, I'm gonna say like, can you show me some stuff that I haven't seen before in my subconscious that I have yet to explore? But you also have to be ready for it too, because you never know what's gonna show up. But a lot of times I can control it no matter what it is. Everything has shown up for me, like angels, demons, ghosts, all those sorts of things, vampires, everything that's like sort of would be scary or whatever, like monsters, whatever. They've shown up for me and I've been able to handle them. And they're not like a big deal. And I realize that they're concepts, you know, like for instance, for me, demons, they are when they show up in your world, they're just things that they're like your negative beliefs in life. So if you believe that you're not good enough for something, or you're just not good enough for yourself or for other people, you think like no one's ever going to love you, those sorts of feelings are demons, in my opinion. Like that's actually what a demon is in your dreams. They're fears that are things that you believe in. Angels are the positive things that you believe in. So when you dream about angels, it means that you're reinforcing good habits. You're reinforcing good things in your life. When demons show up, it's that you believe in something that's not true. And you don't need an external entity like you don't need an angel to help you with demons. You just need to stop believing in whatever that fear is. And and those, those things will go away naturally. So it's just like, that's been my experience with dreams. And it's just, there's just so many things that are really cool. Like turtles, sea turtles specifically, they're sort of like they're your inner wisdom. That's how they show up, is your times when you're seeking inner wisdom. And the reason why they're in the sea is because water is emotion, like emotions. And any sort of body of water is sort of like an emotion that you're experiencing in your waking life. So like if you have, a dream that you're on a boat and you're going through waters and you see these sea turtles, that means that you have some hard like wisdom that you are expressing, or that you are going to be gaining in the near future. And I just think that like people should pay attention more to their dreams. I think that like it's important for people to like pay attention to their subconscious and not just the conscious world, because their subconscious has more access to who you truly are deep down. And there's things like, I don't know if you've ever heard of something called shadow work. Shadow work is like the things that you do in your life and you don't understand why. So for instance, if you're just a loud person, right? Like you might feel like you're outspoken or people are not listening to you. But you don't know, like there's different maybe you just can't hear as well as other people can. Like there's just different things that I think dreams reveal about our shadow selves, the self that other people can see, but we necessarily aren't conscious of usually, unless other people tell us and give us input that there's certain bad habits or certain things that you're doing. For instance, like my mom's like she's known for her tortillas. Like she has the best tortillas like I've ever tasted and a lot of people say they're the best. And but my mom, like, she just thinks they're normal tortillas. Like she doesn't understand. But her love for tortillas came from when she was a child, and like she's been making tortillas with her grandmas. Sometimes it was the only thing they had to eat were the tortillas, and like because it's like it came from commodity food, and so they lived. And sometimes like like my mom said like that they only had tortillas to live off of, and so like my mom's made hand tortillas like all of her life. And after 80 years of mastering that, like, making that bread, she's become the best at it. And it's just like, oh, get me out of here. But yeah, like, like that's something, I talked to her about. I was like, like that, the reason why you make tortillas with every meal is because like you grew up with it, and it's like, and that's why you're the best at it, is because it's without tortillas you're not surviving correctly. And then also my mom, like when she met my dad, like my dad he started making good money when he started meeting my mom, because my mom made him go out and get like a really good job, and so he could take care of, you know, me and my brother and the rest of our family. And so once my dad like went out and got money that way, um she started to buy things. She started to you know, buy, just like she was she almost materialistic in a way, because she would always be buying like clothes or buying different things for herself, and a lot of like collectibles. She had so many collectibles. um and that's because when she was growing up, she didn't have much. She, like I said, sometimes all they had were like, she didn't have like, she didn't have like basic necessities like a bed. She slept on the ground pretty much, or on a sheepskin rug. And she lived in a little mud hut with her grandma until one day um they came and took her to a boarding school where they gave her shoes, socks, a dress, like jacket, all these sorts of things that she had never, you know, didn't have with her grandma. And she was able to eat 3 meals a day. She was able to have snacks and like different things like that. And like, so she became, I think that's the reason why things were so valuable to her, was because she didn't have anything growing up. So once she did have money, and I remember my dad said when she first got, or when they first received the check, my mom almost passed out because of how much money like it was. And she just like, I just, you know, I can't imagine that look on her face when she saw like the 3 zeros on the thousands, right? And and it just kept coming in. My mom, you know, that's just how life was. But before that, it was rough, because like they even at one point had to leave me, and they had to leave me with my aunts and my uncles. And that manifested into an abandonment demon that I still deal with. I still am like, even with like work, I always think like, it doesn't matter if I get a job or if I do freelancing, because both are just as risky. If you have a job, you can easily just get fired anytime. If you're freelancing, you at least know if you're, you know, it's the same risk. It's the same risk, but with freelancing, you get way more money. You're in control of way more. You don't have to work on their schedule. You can work whenever you want. It's just a much freer life, and the risks and there's limitless like potential to make as much money as you can handle. And you can grow and grow and grow. And versus like, if you're stuck at a job, you're only growing as much as they allow you to. They're gonna, you know, and like me, I'd be like, oh, these people are not gonna pay me the right amount that I deserve to be paid. Or you know, they're gonna give positions away to other people because there's nepotism, because of it's a nepotistic environment. Or they're not going to recognize the value that I bring. They're going to overwork me. I don't have to like, you know, go way out of my way to like prove that I should remain in the company, and that I'm a valuable player in the company. So at the end of the day, it's like, no matter which route you take, whether you take a job or you work for yourself, it's the same amount of risk. There is no stability. There's no true stability. And you know, it's just, so I keep telling myself that, like, that's the angel that I have, right? Is that there's no true stability. Is just a stability. The illusion of stability is I mean, stability is just an illusion. That's like pretty much it. Stability is just an illusion. You can always be fired. You can always be let go. The world could you know, the world could just do whatever it does, right? Fall apart, whatever. It's like, but I do believe that you can manifest whatever you want. So if you, I mean, if you do like a job, like for instance, if you're working at like Nike, or you're working at like some really cool company where you're making rockets and stuff, you know, those are cool jobs. There's a lot of cool jobs. If you like working with animals and you're a veterinarian and you have, you know, you're actually have a job like working with animals and you get fulfillment every day, that's great, you know. Or if you're a doctor and you just love helping people get better, that's great. That is, you know, those are admirable things to do. But if you're like me, I'm a designer, developer, all that kind of stuff. So like for me it's different. Like um people will always need marketing. People will always need ways to, you know, ways to communicate their ideas out to the rest of the world. And there's someone like me who's there to help them you know, help them with their mission. And and in and the, you know, it's a mutual thing because they're helping me as well. And so like I guess like what I'm trying to do is manifest now, and I'm trying to test my own abilities with manifestation, the same manifestation powers that I have when I'm in my lucid dreaming. I'm trying to manifest those same powers into my reality and my actual like waking experience. But like at the same time, it's scary. It's scary to fully trust yourself sometimes. You know, I trust that I can do the jobs that like I'm promising, and I can do the work. There's no problem with the work. Like I can do it. It's just the risk of like the risk I'm taking by not having stability. You know, looking at like when like the rent and bills are going to be flowing in, and then you're like, what should I do about this? But you know, like I've been freelancing for the last 5 years now, so I don't even know why I even get worried ever, because this has happened many times before where work just sort of dies off, and then I have to find a new client or new projects to take on, and it's always worked out. So I just need to trust that it's gonna work out again. The when If worst comes to worst, I'm moving back with my dad, which is, you know, I can help him and get paid to do that too. I can become his caregiver and get paid to take care of my dad and basically just live, and I can build a you know, whatever sort of dream like application, software, whatever, and just, you know, build from there from my dad's house. But I don't think that, you know, I don't want to be that sort of dude. I think I'll be okay. I'll find something's going to hit. I watched this guy Faxity, and he's always gambling, and it's so funny because like he has this energy. He's like, oh man, he's like, this is gonna hit, this is gonna hit. He's like, come on, come on. And I'm always like, I gotta have that energy that he has. Like I gotta be like, come on, something's gonna hit. Like every time I bid on a project or a job, or I reach out to a client and I put something out there, I'm like, come on, this is gonna hit, this is gonna hit, and I know it's gonna hit, and I know something's gonna hit, but it's just the waiting for it is just sometimes, you know, scary. But at the end of the day, I've got to get more in touch with my dreams again. I think that might be one of the reasons why, you know, I feel out of sync. Um, when my intuition pops back and like, and I'm fully connected to my dreams again, and I can predict what's gonna happen, I'll feel a lot better. Right now, I just feel like I'm roaming around in the dark, but the dark is where the magic happens. The dark is where you discover yourself. The dark is where you discover your power, not in the light. The dark is where the mysteries and the miracles happen. And you can't appreciate the light that you have without heading into the dark. So anyways, I hope you guys have a good day, And if you got to this point, say red brick. Red brick. And I appreciate everybody who watches these videos. I don't know how many times I'm gonna do the camera, the face cameras, but because I don't know, it just feels weird to me. But I do think that it like feel. I did watch my other one, my last one, and it did feel more engaging, because there was, because you can see somebody who's talking, not just like the Minecraft gameplay. But also, I just like whenever I made these, I didn't plan on them to be high effort at all. And it is a little bit of effort, or it's more effort for me to like set up the camera and the lighting and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good day, and thank you for watching. Peace out.